The Advanced. I guess it's time for us to talk about it. I got a lot of requests for the Advance or the God Spirit or Spirit Possession that Ohma Tokita from KENGAN ASHURA activates during his special moments with explosive bouts of movements and crazy force output and all those type of superpower esque mm, moments in the anime. But it took me a while to actually narrow it down to a particular realism of practice. It's not always easy to say, oh, they're doing A, so we can do A, they're doing B, we can do B. Not in real life. I mean, that's fiction. All of the anime stuff are all fiction. So choosing the right approach to translate it to real life that can be beneficial for us is not a full-time job, but it's something that we need to be aware of so that we can do this as a daily practice. We can be safe, we can benefit from it, and we can have a lot of fun. So let's talk about it. The advance. Oh, by the way, I don't think I'm able to do it in one video. This is probably going to be a mini series, but let's see how far it can go. And I hope you guys enjoy. Let's start. So, the advance. There's a couple of things that we can take note on what happened during Oma's activation of the advance or the possessing spirit. So, tada! So, the advance, aka the possessing spirit. So, when this happened, technically by functionality of the body. So, uh, what happened is his metabolic rate goes up, right? His metabolic rate goes up, and his heart rate goes extremely high. So he interlocks his high heart rate, high pump, and then he keeps it that way for a certain amount of time, and it increases his acceleration, his torque. Torque means the like the energy output in twisting, so to speak, and also his general force output. So he becomes stronger. He hits harder, kicks harder, but also he becomes more explosive. So he's not only fast, but he can do this in a rapid, continuous motion, right? So that is the take that we can see during this time, during this whatever it is happening. So if you break it down again to, let's say, metabolic rate, that means he is using a lot of energy in, let's say, explosive movements, such as then it's going to be similar to sprinting, but realistically you won't go above 2 minutes doing that high intensity explosive movements. 45 seconds tops, 1 minute tops. Um, because after that it's just you and your body being trying to endure such stress. Like that's why even boxers, even fighters in the ring, they won't last too long being that explosive. They will run out of breath. At the end of the day, their cardiovascular capacity and their endurance capacity is the one holding them for the rest of the fight. So that explosiveness won't last too long. Let's say about a minute, minute and a half. And in the anime itself, he doesn't last long in that state. So it's only a certain amount of time, and then boom, it turns off. Now again, but to endure such stress, you not only need to be explosive or fast or have a lot of stamina, but you have to be able to. Your body has to be able to withstand such force output and impact towards your activity. It could be jumping, it could be sprinting, it could be kicking, it could be acrobatics, it could be flips, it could be anything. Your body has to have a strong enough foundation, let's say muscle mass in this case, muscle mass, tendon strength, bone density, and all these type of um, morphological requirements to endure such stress. So that's why in also in the advance there is a side effect that the longer he uses it, he will have like blood vessels popping out inside of his heart or hallucinations because of like hemorrhage, something like that. I'm not sure. But in the anime itself, the doctor said he won't last long using the state. His body will give out, and he can have different types of injuries occurring during these states, such as hallucination, his heart giving out, and it would definitely mean that he has like some type of a stroke if his blood vessel is forced to pump that hard and that high amounts. He can blow a blood vessel. It's kind of scary. But I mean, in real life, sports won't go that far. There is a certain degree of realism, a certain degree of safety in that. And also, it's going high intensity in sports is actually good for you. There is a health benefit in that. But we just have to make sure that when we tap into that, when we train for that, we're not going overboard. We're making sure it's enough stress to keep us stimulated, but to keep us adapting over time. So after a lot of thinking, we have to keep the intense heart rate in a certain level. We have to keep our metabolic rate so our body's able to use the storage of energy efficiently in a certain amount of time. But also, we have to be explosive and we have to be strong. That's the main focus here that we should have our body required to be able to do. So for the heart rate itself, to keep that in a certain amount, we can just do high intensity exercises, right? Hits, for example, high intensity interval trainings. But in the metabolic rate itself, in CrossFit, people do this all the time. They put themselves in a heavy load of exercise in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of stress, and then cycling throughout with however long is they're trying to train for. So, and they have high amounts of muscular endurance, crazy high amounts. Damn, CrossFit people are really strong. One of my friends is actually a CrossFitter, and he's insanely strong. He's insanely strong. He's not that muscular looking because he has a lot of like water, glycogen, body fat in his storage because he needs a lot of energy to move that. I'm far more leaner than he is, but he's far more stronger than I am. So we can take something from that. So high intensity exercises, high metabolic rates of muscular endurance, and definitely over time you will create adaptation. But how do we formulate the workouts to be similar to the advance? Now this is where I come in. Oh, we know that we need a high intensity type of um, type of, let's say, structure of training. So it's intense, it's short, it's explosive, but also it demands high metabolic conditioning, right? So we have to be able to have our muscles contract a lot. Our big muscle groups provide the high amounts of movements, high amounts of explosiveness. So this training is going to be a little bit of like a metabolic conditioning in CrossFit, but it's not necessarily a CrossFitting thing. High intensity, which means you're going to go all out as heavy as you can. As I'm not saying lift crazy heavy weights, no, but all out in terms of repetitions, in terms of form, in terms of how good you're doing, how good you're contracting, or how good you are doing particular movements, and then put this in a significant amount of cycle during the training. Not too long, but not too short, but it's intense enough to create stimulation. So here it goes. Boom, the advanced formula for training. To activate the advance in a short amount of time, realistically, we're going to have a high amounts of heart rate, high amounts of metabolic rate. So which means it's going to be a metabolic conditioning for a certain amount of time with a high intensity bouts of movements. So it's going to be 1 minute on, 1 minute off, all out. 1 minute on, 1 minute off, all out. So you go all in with your movements as good, as much, and as high repetitions as you can, as explosive as you can. We're going to do 4 posts, not too much volume that you'll kill yourself, but enough to stimulate. The way you stimulate yourself is by forcing you to push yourself to do more repetitions, or to do more proper movements, or more explosive movements, or jump higher, or run faster, those type of things. So post 1, post 2, post 3, post 4. I would end in a post 4, and then we'll do this for 3 times. So repeat this for post 3 times. 1 minute on, 1 minute off, 4 post, 1 minute rest in between, and then 2 minutes rest before we start the whole post again. So this detail of resting is actually crucial in creating that endurance, that ability to withstand such stress. And I've been training like this, in this fashion, for a year or so. I've been focusing a lot in high intensity stuff, and my tricking, my explosive movements, my kicks, my endurance, and my muscular capacity to perform good movements, strict movements better has been increasing exponentially. I mean, I can withstand more complex martial arts movements far more better than how I used to before, and I'm more stronger. I'm getting more dense muscles, so it's fast twitch muscle fibers most likely, and I'm becoming a lot more explosive, which is nice. So I can just bounce up and down, move left and right with no resistance in the movement. So I feel a lot more athletic, and I've been doing this for ever since I was like 21, 22, now I'm 24. So I'm not just telling you to do this out of nowhere. I've been experiencing this many parts of my training. So if you can put this in your daily as the advanced training or the God possession training, it'll be awesome. And you'll feel great afterwards. You'll feel really strong, you'll feel very explosive. It feels like you can actually endure more. You can actually endure more. So back here, post 1, I would say try to make it as explosive as you can for the first one. So go heavy, compound movements, so which means that mix 2 joints. It's the basic fundamental exercise movements. Don't go for isolation, no bicep curls, no hamstring curls, no tricep extensions, none of that. Core is okay, core is great, but the focus is always big movements. Indirectly, you will train your core, but focus on being explosive. Let's say jumping squats, or maybe deadlifts, or maybe barbell squats, or maybe barbell lunges. Those type of heavy stuff, mostly legs. And then you go to post 2. I would usually go for upper body. So I go for pull-ups, dips, push-up claps, dips to L-sits, those type of things. Or maybe Australian pull-ups, so under rows, explode as much as I can. And then the third one would be another legs, or another upper body. Definitely a counterpart for the second one, so I'm not hitting the same body part as I used to, and I always go full body. So legs, upper body, push pull. I always focus on that structure. So post 3 is something that you definitely want to improve more. Let's say if you want to improve your punches, then you focus on the push-up. If you want to focus on jumping, then you focus on plyometric jumps, those type of things. If you want to explode more, or maybe you can even do a martial arts set. Let's say you want to do kicks, you want to do round kicks, you want to do hook kicks, you want to do jumping knee kicks, you want to do straight kicks. Go ahead, put them in, as long as it's heavy enough to keep you stimulated, so you're not doing too little. And then the last post would be a shadow boxing, because it's an advance, the advanced training, God possession training, KENGAN ASHURA type training. So you're basically going to do a semi-fight type of training, right? So you gotta put it you got to put a fight there. So this will be a shadow boxing. You can do hands, you can do both, you can do maybe just legs. It's really up to you, but I would like you to do some shadow boxing here on the fourth. And do that for 1 minute straight. Explode as you can. That will be your endurance training. That will be your cardiovascular training too. So this all three are basic strength training. You strengthen yourself, you strengthen your muscles, your bones, your tendons, while at the same time pushing your limit for your high intensity endurance level. So you learn to endure high intensity stuff by doing high intensity stuff. Make sense? Specificity. And then after that, last but not least, you'll feel everything by releasing the stress through a shadow boxing. Or maybe you can work on a punching bag. It's really up to you. So this is the format that I would simplify to get the advance feel, if you know what I mean. Now, after all of this done, you have to make sure that you're not drinking too much between sets because you don't want to fill your stomach up. So just take sips of sugary drinks and crack on with it. But you have to make sure that you rest 2 minutes in between and repeat 3 times. And I know, oh, this is so heavy, man. I can't always go 1 minute. I'm not that strong. Fine, cut it to 30. 30 on, 30 off. Oh, I still can't do it. Fine, do 20 on, 20 off. It's really that simple. Just cut down the intensity. But I don't want you to go beyond 1 minute. I don't want you to go beyond 20 seconds. So that's the rule that I would say to maintain that advanced type of explosive heart rate. Because we want to keep the heart rate up, we want to keep the intensity up, we want to endure through the high intensity condition. So endure through the explosiveness. Build the muscle to maintain the structure so that you can output a lot more force because you have more muscle, but also you learn to endure. So you learn to endure in the explosive condition. So that's probably how the advance would work in terms of training. Now let's go to the practice. See you in the field. Now today, because I'm trying to focus on my jump height lately, so I'm warming up with a little bit of a box knee raises with an extra elevated ankle at the end to give a little bit of a calf warm up, just to make sure I get my abductors and my quads and my ankles and also my joints ready. And after that, I go to plyometric squats, plyometric jump squats. I meant it's a partial squat, so it's not too deep. It's about activating that jumping motion, that jumping awareness, to get as much stimulation as possible. And then I go to post one. So the first post would be a split lunges switch, and then to a lateral jumping partial squats. So it's about the twitches, how fast you can actually jump left and right and create that explosive motion. I rest for 1 minute and then I go straight to the L-sit pull-up. And yes, you will definitely take a break between a couple of reps, but you have to keep on going until the timer runs out. The goal is always to go full on, full out. And then you rest for the 1 minute after each set. And after this, I go straight to a push-up clap. As much rep as possible, as explosive as possible. And what I have to make sure is I am, like I said before, I'm training the opposite muscle in my upper body. So I'm not overworking a pull or a push. And then the final post will definitely be the shadow boxing. You have to keep it simple, not too complicated, because when you get fatigued, when you're tired, you will compromise your form. Too complex of a form will just basically lose the point of learning that skill. So harness the basic skills. Don't go too overcomplicated and focus on going full out. The only thing that is holding you back is your effort. You have to put full effort on each and every set. Well, there's a question. Can you make it a lot more complex set of shadow boxing? Sure, definitely.
But in compromising your form, it would definitely be not so wise to jump that quick. Of course, you can add a little bit of a combination, a lot more complex, a lot more explosive, definitely, but always go simple because you're trying to adapt, not trying to ego perform. So it's a learning process. Be steady, be consistent, and go full on effort. Now, don't forget to rest for 2 minutes after each round and repeat the process. Now, after my 3 rounds, I don't always stop straight away. I always play around with my tricks, play around with the combos that I'm trying to make, playing around with some acrobatics, maybe some certain skills that I want to try on. Basically, this is just me playing around, and I always save my play around session at the end because this is where I'm the most warmed up and where I'm the most receptive to new things. So I try new tricks, try new skills during these times, and then afterwards, I will cool down. Cooling down is very important. During these heavy, strenuous trainings, our muscles will tighten, our maybe joints and ligaments would definitely feel a little bit of a strained. So you might want to cool your body down by stretching, a little bit of a light cardio, maybe walking, maybe light jogging, dynamic stretches. Stretch your groin, stretch your back, stretch your shoulders. Definitely the groin area will be the most receptive part for these type of explosive activities, and you gotta make sure that they are well stretched, well relaxed after each training, so you can rest and you can recover and you can go to sleep in a less stressful condition. So, because after exercise, especially the explosive types, our adrenaline will definitely be stimulated. Too much of that, we might be able to have a hard time sleeping, which is not so good. We got work the next morning, we have things to do, we have to stay in schedule. That's why making sure our body is well relaxed, well stretched after each heavy, intense trainings are important. Now, pro tip here, I don't do this every day. I do this in max 3 times a week, two times a week. There are times that I change training conditionings, training routines, depending on my goal, depending on my microcycle that I'm going through. Maybe I'm going through a mini fat loss or a mini bulk or a specific targeted skill acquiring conditioning. Like, for example, I want to strengthen my wrists, I want to strengthen my ankles, I want to strengthen my knees, I want to strengthen my handstands, I want to strengthen my particular acrobatic. Then that comes into play. So this is the interpretation of my advance. How to maintain that high heart rate level with the ability of your muscular endurance to withstand such stress. Now this is part 1. There will be a lot more coming. I've broken down through the steps that would definitely help out through the advanced journey, but this is my interpretation of the advance. Hope it will be beneficial. It gave the benefit for me, it gave benefit for my martial arts performing, martial arts tricking. I stepped on stage for a show a couple of months ago, and this really helped because it's actually, we had an opening for 1 minute non-stop, and it was full on explosive performance, and it was insanely crazy. It was a big stage, it was aired all over the national TV. So this really helped me to condition for that particular events, particular bouts of high intensity feats. So I hope you enjoy watching this and you can try it out.